guys, today I'm going to teach you how to knit socks in the round. This is going to be a two-part video. So here I have size 3.75 needles in a round, and the round is about 2 feet long. So I'm going to make a slip knot, and I actually put this on both my needles, and I'm going to cast on 44 stitches. Now the reason I have it on the 2 needles is I find it just makes sure that I don't make my stitches too tight while working in the round. So here just cast on 44 stitches. Now this makes a sock for a woman anywhere between size like 7 to 10. Now if you want smaller or bigger socks, you would just have to adjust those numbers. So you just would have seen I pulled the second needle out, and there's my 44 stitches in the round. And I'm going to go about halfway through and pull the round through so that I have about half the stitches on one needle and half on the other. Now once you get the stitches on both needles, make sure where you cast it on and where you're going to be working is all facing in a U shape. And then we're going to start a ribbing pattern. So you're going to do knit 2 and then purl 2. So make sure you pull the first couple quite tight, and that's what's closing the round. Then we're switching and doing purl 2. So again, we're knit 2 and then purl 2. So while we're doing this first row, you just want to keep moving your stitches in the round and just making sure they're not twisted. So you just pull the round through, and that keeps them moved onto the other needle. So you have about half on each needle, and then just making sure they're not twisted and that your tail's not tucked in anywhere. Then just keep going. So now I'm doing purl 2. So this is making the cuff of the sock. So I'm going to use this beige color for the cuff. And these first couple rows are usually super awkward because everything's just kind of stretched out in the round, but I swear it does get easier. And don't forget those stitch markers at the starting point. So once you hit your first round down, everything's kind of coming together. What I like to do is put every single stitch onto the yarn needle on my left hand, and then my working yarn and working needles in my right hand. So now basically I just do my knit and purl all these stitches onto the other needle and then pull them through like I just did. I find this makes it a little bit less confusing in the round, and do this after you do about 1 or 2 rows. So we're doing this knit 2, purl 2 pattern for about 1 inch, depending on how high you want your socks, but I'm going to do the 1 inch. So here's my 1 inch, and what I'm going to do is start by adding on my main color of my sock, which is this pretty pink, and you're just going to do a basic knit stitch for the next 2 inches of sock. So this is just me doing basic knit stitch. And what you're going to do is cut the tail of the white and just do a knot with the pink. And then once the sock's done, we can sew in those tails. So you can see the pink's getting more noticeable here. This is round 2. Just going in the round, and again, just basic knit. You can see the cuff of the sock looks great, really is taken shape. So here's my 2 inches. So I'm going to count over 22 stitches and just put another stitch marker. So this is halfway. And we're going to start working on our heel. So I'm actually going to make the heel a white color. Here I'm just detangling my needles. Have patience with the needles in the round. So moving that stitch marker over, and we are on a knit side. So I'm going to slip the first stitch, and then I'm going to knit the rest of the row. And here is where I'm going to add my new heel color on, which is that cream color, and then just do your basic knit stitch for those 22 stitches. And there's the 22. And so once you get to the end, I'm just going to finish these last two. You are going to turn your work. So I'm turning my work here. And then you are on a purl side. So you're going to slip the first stitch. And then you're going to purl across. And you're going to keep doing this until you have 2 inches of this stockinette pattern. So again, you just slip the first stitch, purl the rest of the row, turn your work, slip the first stitch, knit the rest of your row, turn your work. And you can see where it's coming together. I cut the yarn and tied it together as well because it was in my way. But there I slipped a stitch and now I'm back to regular knit side. So now we're going to do our heel turn. So I just knit 12 stitches and then knit 2 together. So that's my 2 together and then knit 1. And then you're going to turn your work and you're going to purl 3 stitches after you slip 1. So slip 1 and then purl 3. I apologize, I have no idea where the camera's focusing in and focusing out in the background, but you get the point of what my hands are doing. So that's the purl 3, and then I'm going to purl 2 together, and then purl 1. So you can see this created 2 kind of holes. So the hole where my needle is and then a hole a little bit further to the left. And we're going to be closing those and that makes the heel turn. So what you're going to do is slip your first stitch and we are on a knit side. So we are going to knit until 1 stitch before the gap. So this is just straight knitting. And then we get to this 1 stitch before the gap. You can see the gap there and you're going to knit 2 together. And then turn your work. So now on the purl side, you can see the gap down there. So we're going to slip the first stitch, purl till 1 before the gap. And now that we're 1 before the gap, we're going to purl 2 together. And then you turn your work. So now you're just going to follow this until there's no gaps left. So you slip, knit or purl till 1 before the gap, knit or purl 2 together to close the gap, and then turn your work. And you're just going to keep doing that. So I just did my knitting, and then I'm knitting 2 together, turning my work, and then we slip 1 and purl to the gap, and then close the gap and turn your work. And you can see this is my last row here, but you can see that the heel has started to take its shape. It looks quite small, but it does stretch out nicely. And so here I am doing the last knit row and closing that last gap. And then you're going to turn and do that for the purl row as well. You can really see the heel on this inside of the purl row. So you're going to slip 1. See, I tried to purl and then realized that I messed up. So I'm slipping that first one and then purling to the gap and then closing the gap. Now the gap's closed, and come back for part 2 and we'll finish this sock.